So okay. So I'm one of the Brazilian groups there. I hope you can understand my accent. Um, the Beatles have a special place in my heart because before being a physician, I was an English teacher for children, and I used to teach the Beatles songs. I mean, I'm talking about the 70s, right? I'm oldest. No. So I used to get the kids to sing the Beatles songs and learn English in that way. And so it was a blast. To the point that I was almost expelled from the school because I was making so much noise. True story, true story. So it is. Today, I will invite you to meditate about boundless forgiveness. One of the most difficult things you can do. Before we start, I'm going to ask our Father for his blessing to our congregation and inspiration of how best to spread his wisdom and kindness by saying the prayer that Jesus taught us while he walked with us on earth. Our Father, it's the prayer. First we're going to say that in English, and I'm going to ask Reverend Gary to do that for me, and then I'll say in Portuguese. Don't fret, because after that I'll go back to English. Thank you, Carrie.
Good morning and namaste, everybody.
Good morning.
Before I start with the Lord's Prayer, which we'll do in unison, I got a question for Anna. Who is your favorite Beatle?
John Lennon.
John Lennon? It never worked between us. Mine was Paul.
Okay.
Yeah. And the peanut gallery says George.
Ringo some love.
Okay. So let's say it together. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Amen.
Thank you. Pai nosso que estás no céu, santificado seja o vosso nome. Venha a nós o vosso reino, seja feita a vossa vontade, assim na terra como no céu. O pão nosso de cada dia dai-nos hoje. Perdoai as nossas dívidas, assim como nós perdoamos aqueles que nos têm ofendido. Não nos deixeis cair em tentação, meu Pai, mas livrai-nos de todos os males, que vosso reino, poder e a glória para sempre. Assim seja. Okay. Forgiving 7 times 70, or as many times as needed, boundless forgiveness, has been a recommendation that Jesus has reiterated several times in the gospel. Jesus was first said to Peter, one of his apostles, and Peter, asked Jesus how many times he should forgive his brother who has sinned against him. And should it be 7 times 7, like it was usually said in the Jewish tradition? And to his surprise, Jesus corrected him, saying, no, it should be 7 times 70, or as how many times necessary. That is, forgiveness should be boundless and infinite. Try that. Since we are talking about boundless forgiveness, let's tell you a true story. In my medical practice, I receive an unfortunate succession of patients, mostly female, but also some male, who report true personal tragedies. the result of sexual abuse by their parents or father figures in positions of trust, who betrayed their protective duties. Almost always along with the sexual abuse, there is the neglect and the complicity of other adults who also fail in their protective missions. We all have missions. We need to be very aware of them. They pretend not to see and are afraid not to go along with it. These children later forge disastrous trajectories that reflect a life of trauma, a lack of trust in their future relationships, attempts to escape the horrible memories using various substances. And worst of all, I believe that they only deserve abuse and neglect, perpetuating a cycle of further suffering for themselves and their future families. Among these patients are those who find themselves in prison for various reasons, including for repeating the abuse of which they were victims. So how can we break the cycles of abuse and suffering? How can we rebuild lives that have been twisted for so long? How do you rebuild trust in yourself and in others that try to reach out to help? In a word, love. Actually, John Lennon was right. All we need is love. Right? So I'll recount the story of John, and that's not his name, of course. As a child, he was repeatedly sexually abused by his stepfather and bigger brother, who was 8 years his senior, from the ages from 7 to 11. His mother, one day arriving home early from work, witnessed the brutal scene. He had never told her for fear of the two tormentors, for they have threatened his life and her life. That day, however, his mother transformed in a true lioness, talking about your animal spirit, and she, broom in hand, without even giving them time to get dressed, chased them out of the house. The neighbors rushed over, and she, in a flash, accused them of incest, without mentioning John to protect him. The two, still naked, among their neighbors, fled, never to return. For John, that scene was what saved his life. Because even then, at 11, so young, he was contemplating committing suicide. John lived a difficult life, haunted by the memories of his childhood. He started drinking at the age of 13, sneaking whiskey from his mother's house when he was there while his mother was working now 2 jobs. He finished high school with difficulties and became a bricklayer. Later, he was promoted to construction manager around the age of 25, having learned all the construction trades from laying bricks to wiring. And because he was so good at math and because he knew how to save money to the construction companies he worked for, he raised up in the ranks. Sorry, I lost where I was here. But he still drank heavily at night before going to bed. He thought that he knew how to drink because it's a lot. Because he never showed up drunk at work. However, he was required to have an annual medical exam for work, and his tests already indicated liver problems even before he was 40. He didn't care. He wanted to die. His beloved mother had passed away to the spiritual world 2 years earlier. His grandmother had preceded her a little bit before. And what was the point of living? To build houses where others would be happy, but he never. But life insisted on letting him live. Life insisted on letting him live. He had never married, but decided to raise the son of a prostitute he met in his youth. She died of AIDS complications when the boy was 11, and John was 42. His adopted son had also experienced the same sexual abuse that John had suffered as a child. They maintain a deeply important bond for both of them ever since. Bob, not his real name, he's not Bob the Builder, was the dear son of his heart, a true blessing from God. For Bob, John was the father he had always prayed for. When Bob also started drinking at the age of 17, already working at construction sites by his side, John decided to stop drinking and convince his adopted son that they both needed professional help, both for their trauma and their drinking. Over time, with proper treatment and plenty of counseling, they both managed to forgive the father figures who had seriously hurt them. Forgiving the offenses was the catalyst of their ability to stop drinking. It must be then true, the fourth amendment, commandment, must be true. Honor your father and mother that you may have a long life on earth. Resentment and alcohol were eating away at them. Boundless forgiveness freed them. Mutual trust healed them. Their fatherly and filial love was the foundation of their new lives. They both completed 5 years of sobriety last week. To them. With much love, trust, and mutual respect, son and father were able to find the determination to rebuild their broken lives, ready to finally be happy again. But before we continue, I have to do a few things. Let's talk about very important distinctions, because people often confuse forgiveness with forgetting the offenses. And we will also explain what forgiveness is and not, so that we are on the same page. So what is forgiveness? I found so many definitions for that. And I went with the one that resonated the most with me. Forgiveness at its core is a moral virtue in which kindness is extended to those who have offended. Those who forgive know they have been treated unfairly and willingly decide to let go of the resentment and offer kindness, respect, generosity, and even love to the person who has offended them. Forgiveness is one of the moral virtues, along with justice, courage, patience, humility, mercy, and selfless love. Forgiveness is related to all these virtues and complements them. So putting them in a bag, shake, 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 you have a whole thing. Impossible to separate them. No one practices forgiveness, particularly boundless forgiveness, without justice, courage, and mercy. I don't think so. I don't think it's possible. They are all intertwined. Forgiveness, along with beneficence and indulgence, constitute part of charity, as indeed love in action, as understood by Jesus. So what's not forgiveness? Let's go through that. This is kind of fun. Yeah, it is. Look at it. Look at this. Look at the list. Forgiveness is not condoning the harm that someone has caused you. What is wrong now, before, and after. That doesn't change. Forgiveness does not mean agreeing that someone should be exempt from bearing the consequences for what they did to you. We all can sow whatever we want, but the harvest is compulsory. That is part of divine justice. Again, justice, part of the virtues. Nobody escapes it. We all receiving according to our deeds. Karma. Forgiveness is not forgetting. If you're forgetting, please get to a neurologist because you need to be checked up. It is the life experience that teaches us. Forgiveness is reframing the harm, forgiving it. It is remembering without suffering. The process of forgiveness can take days or years, depending on the wrong done and the victim's commitment to forgive. If I forget the wrongdoing, I will not learn from the experience, and the perpetrator may hurt other people again, or may hurt me again. If I forget the wrongdoing, I may hurt other people too. Forgiveness is not giving up on justice, and therefore it is not covering up crimes. If you robbed me, I can forgive you, but I will call the police to arrest you, preventing others from being your victims too. Forgiving doesn't mean waiting for the other person to acknowledge they hurt you. No, because some people are so self-centered they will never realize they have hurt you at all, and much less if they need to apologize. That's something you within yourself and with God. Doesn't need to touch other people, especially the one who has abused you. Forgiving doesn't need reconciliation. Look at this. Reconciliation is a negotiation for peace in the future of the present relationship, right? So it is a negotiation. I don't hurt you, you don't hurt me. Let's reconcile. Sensible negotiation can't come from someone who wants to mistreat you. If someone abused you, for instance, forgiveness could be liberating to you, but it wouldn't be fair to allow the abuse to continue. Get away. Run for the hills. You have the right to defend yourself. Forgiving doesn't mean that you trust your offender. For example, if your father abused you emotionally, physically, sexually when you were a child and you were able to forgive him, awesome, great. But it wouldn't be a good idea to let him take care of your children when you're not around. Forgiving isn't acting arrogantly. That's important. Thinking the other person now owes you something. Humility is necessary to consider that. Even if you don't make mistakes in one way, we always make mistakes other ways. We may not have committed that certain mistake in this lifetime, but we do not know that you have committed the same mistake in previous lives. Nobody's perfect, and we are all evolving. That's very important to acknowledge too. So then why to forgive? So much trouble, so much hurt. It's a process that is brutal. So why to forgive, right? Resentment is a poison that to kill the person who hurt you. You're ingesting it. You're taking the poison that you intend to hurt, to kill the other person. It leaves a deep stain on the heart chakra, hurting the soul itself, which can later cause physical illness in the area of the heart or elsewhere. It has been demonstrated a lot. I can show you the scientific papers about that. It has demonstrated that resentment is greatly associated with cancer. Forgiving in this case is the greatest medicine. So let's get you to another true story. Not as long, I promise you. Chico Xavier was a very prolific medium in Brazil and an amazing human being who channeled more than 400 books written by several different spirits, donating all the books' proceeds to charity, choosing to live in poverty. His spiritual mentor was called Emmanuel. One day, one of Chico's neighbors took pity on him because he was working so hard, even in his physical work. He was like a federal worker, and also in his spiritual work, helping very desperate people, getting home very, very late, sometimes early hours of the day. When he arrived home very tired, he still had to take care of his dog. Then, to help him, this neighbor killed his dog. It was one last thing Chico had to do after arriving home so tired. Chico suffered tremendously with her decision and greatly resented his neighbor for committing this crime. Emmanuel became worried about Chico because his resentment was creating a dark shadow on Chico's soul, around his chest. If left like this, it would later create a physical problem. Emmanuel came to him one day and gave the recipe for healing his resentment. He told Chico to give his neighbor a gift, the very thing she wanted the most. And Chico complained to Emmanuel, "She kills my dog and I give her a present?" Then Emmanuel told him, "Chico, the recipe is not mine, it's Jesus." So Emmanuel went to Jesus to ask. Chico then asked the other neighbors what that particular neighbor dreamed about having, and it was a sewing machine. Chico, obedient to what his mentor had told him, bought the sewing machine and a wave of joy so great that it healed the dark shadow in his chest. And then he received that joy too, and he was able to forgive her. So why do you need to go through the unpleasantness of suffering, and even in some cases of true evil being inflicted by tormentors to us? Why do we have to go through this? Have you thought about that? Why some people have to have it? And they have to go through horrible, horrible things. It's a process of polishing rough edges that needed to be removed so we could evolve. It is a way of paying off debts from other lifetimes. It develops in us the ability to forgive, to be patient, to become more generous, to develop virtues that otherwise would take much longer to happen. We could, of course, inquire God about this. We all have a connection with God. We all can ask Him in prayer, why on earth? But this would be the same as asking the potter why he needs to fire the delicate clay vessel, or the sculptor why he carves the stone to reveal the perfect statue. We are all being carved. We need to shed our excesses so that we can become ever more perfect. I like to finish off with a poem by M.H. John. He's a very young poet, by the way. And I came across this poem in the internet, and I thought, I have to include this. This is so cool. This is about forgiveness, showing us the significance for our souls and for our happiness. Here you go. I forgive you for the pain you caused, for the times when love seemed lost. I forgive you for the nights I cried, for the moments when you lied. I forgive you for the broken trust, for the dreams that turned to dust. I forgive you for the silent days, for the hurtful words and ways. I forgive you not for you, for me, to set my heart and spirit free. With forgiveness I find peace, and let my soul's quiet strength increase. I think it sums it all. Okay. Thank you.